Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. We have the number one, number three, and number five ranked decks. Actually, that's technically incorrect. We have the number one, number three, and number four ranked decks. The number three ranked deck hit number two. This is the only place this early in the season you're getting the decks that have climbed, not started, not just hit infinite, or automatically have climbed to the top of the infinite leaderboard. Exclusive, proven decks post OTA. Let's go. We'll also have weekend mission decks for you. But first, let's do a quick OTA thoughts for you. Lady Deathstrike was in Nihilist decks. Darkhawk was a shell that had a really high win rate. They're literally just trying to scare people playing off those two decks at least a little bit by nerfing these cards. I don't think the Deathstrike or Darkhawk deck fundamentally change them. They make the decks worse, obviously, but I don't think they make them significantly worse. The Psylocke and Sauron changes are for lower collection level players. Sauron is a nice, powerful Series 3 deck for those of you who are still in your Series 3 journey. Playing Sauron into Shuri, into Red Skull, into Taskmaster is a wonderful way to win games of Marvel Snap. And making Sauron a little bit better is a reminder that Series 3 only players can do that. Psylocke is, again, just an extra nice card. Is she special? No. Does she go in anything necessarily? We are completely unsure, but hey, making her slightly better is fine. This does hurt her negative, but other than that, we're doing well. The Leech change is going to fundamentally alter the meta for the foreseeable future. It's going to make Hela particularly significantly worse as long as people are playing a lot of Leech. Leech on 4 is a game changer for a lot of decks. It should also chase from the meta, at least for a bit, both Silver Surfer, which obviously relies on the card Silver Surfer, as well as probably doing a really solid job of taking out Bounce again, which had just come back to the meta. So this is going to be a meta limiter. It's going to really push ongoing decks. Further pushing ongoing decks, Klaw is a stellar card now. It is gives +8 power. Vision is 8 power. This has an extra 4. That's 12 power total. A good way to check how strong cards are is largely to consider how much power they're generating on the board. That's how you know a card like Doom or Ms. Marvel is probably going to be good. It's why I'm slowly climbing higher and higher on Namora. Generally speaking, cards that put a lot of power without being super duper restrictive are really good. Klaw is one such card. I expect it to find its way into the meta. In fact, it's going to find its way into some of the decks we're going to talk about today. I think Ultron is a completely insane card, and it's an insane card to the point that it is, it's an insane card to the point where it is going to end up in the number one deck that we're about to talk about. That number one deck, by the way, is Series 3 only. But before we get to that, please check out the stream team. We do 3 decks a day, at the very least, on this very channel, every single weekday, videos 7 days a week. But we don't do gameplay. Well, we have some streamer friends who are doing gameplay for us. This is the stream team. It is 6 streams and videos every single week. So on Monday, you can find Gregor2424, Tuesday, Prashawn, Wednesday, Gaming Flash X. Last night, Zal Snap covered yesterday's decks. Coming out the day after, which means Zal's video will come out later today, is a YouTube video of some of that gameplay. Tonight will be the Pirate King himself, Tucker, featuring 3 top 5 decks in Marvel Snap played, and then a video will come out Sunday. And then, hey, I don't know if you know this, but Saturday is the day the podcast releases, so there's no new decks. So Newman's going to play a bunch of the decks and try and determine which are best Saturday morning, and then release a video Sunday. We are also going to give away season passes while doing this, so make sure you go check it out. I'm really, really excited for how well this is going. Everyone who's been watching has been giving rave reviews. Go check it out. Do me a favor in the comments. If you have checked any of these out, let me know what you think. I think it's going well, but I'd love some more feedback. All right. Miley C, our friend Miley, who we've talked about a lot, number 2 in the Snap Grand Prix, the tournament we just sponsored. Top 20 player last season, climbed from like rank 250 when he hit Infinite, which is an absurd drop of rank when he hit Infinite, to number 1. Was climbing already, but then did the bulk of the climb to number 1 after the OTA with this Patriot deck. You might notice that the highest series card in this deck is Series 3. There are several Series 3 cards, but the highest series card is Series 3. This is a perfectly classic Patriot Ultron deck. Only real differences between this and the old school ones Well, Claw is significantly better, and now because Claw is significantly better, goes in the damn deck, and Dazzler's in the deck now too, because Dazzler got a really good buff, and now she's basically, with Ultron, always a 2/8. Everything else here is really, really self-explanatory. This deck is so strong right now. It's really simple. I'm going to make one change suggestion to you, though, because again, like no Series 4 or 5 cards, there's no card replacements, right? I'm going to make one change for you. Figure out a way, if humanly possible, to get Super Skrull in. This is about to be a real, real, real ongoing meta, and Super Skrull will be worth his weight in gold for the foreseeable future. Now, you can find Miley at twitter.com/MileyC. You're not going to find this deck there, though. This deck is exclusively ours to bring to you. This is our exclusive number 1 deck. Thank you to Miley. Again, Series 4 and 5, not needed. One of the best decks in the game. From 200s to number 1, this deck. Turn 1, Ant-Man. Turn 2, Invisible Woman's generally speaking better than Dazzler. Turn 3, Patriot over Wave, and you only really want to wave on 3 if you have Onslaught, because that's what your wave is here for. You can conceivably wave into Claw. I like that play less, but it is a play that you can make. You can Claw or Blue Marvel. So, and though it's better than Brood, so if you don't have Patriot, fundamentally wave into a big card. If you don't have a big card, you're just dropping Brood. Turn 4, Mystique on Patriot. Or if you didn't play Patriot on 3, you can drop Patriot or wave or Brood, and obviously the wave plays. If you wave on 4, please do not follow that play up with Claw or Blue Marvel. You are doing that in order to play Onslaught exclusively. Turn 5, again, Claw or Blue Marvel. Figure out which you want. If you've already got Patriot out, Claw is often enough, because you're going to want to drop Onslaught on those 2 cards, right? Or if you have Onslaught out, you can drop Claw on Onslaught, and then you're trying to end with either Onslaught or Ultron along with Wasp. And you just put an insane amount of power on the board that your opponents very likely cannot deal with. So this is the number 1 deck in Marvel Snap right now. I've hit Infinite with Patriot before. Maybe I'll hit Infinite with Patriot again. I still haven't decided what I'm doing. But hey, most of you watching this have access to this within a card or 2. I don't usually do this because everyone's Series 3 journey is different. But if you're missing a Series 3 card from this deck, I think most of the Series 3 cards outside of Patriot and Ultron, is that it? Outside of Patriot and Ultron, I think basically every other Series 3 card here is somewhat replaceable. So if you are missing a Series 3 card outside of those 2, let me know in the comments and I will do my best to recommend a replacement for you. All right, please subscribe, like, and comment. Watch for as long as you can. It really does help the channel grow. It helps us out, and we really appreciate it. If you're willing to do so, we'd love it. Let's keep going for our questions of the day. First, I'd like a quick word on sample size. Someone in a video, someone on yesterday's video complained that 200 games was a large enough sample size. A, that's the sample size that both Untapped and Marvel Snap Zone use. But B, there are a lot of channels out there. Our friend Alex Cochia, Hoogland, so on, feature decks after they have become successful. Their top 10 lists are meant to be the things that are played by a ton of the meta that do well. I don't think that's what this channel is for, or at least that's not my goal for it. What we've always tried to do is find you the best decks before everyone's talking about it, and if everyone's not talking about it, then it can't have thousands of games played. We're trying to give you the opportunity to steal cubes before people know exactly what you're doing and what you're playing. That is the goal and hope of this channel. A ton. I'm going to say this straight up. This isn't meant to be braggy. This is genuinely just truth. Again, if this is you in the comments, please feel free to sound off. But an absolute ton of people hit Infinite from this channel every season from these decks. Every deck works for different people. You will find people commenting on the exact same deck. This is broken. I can't believe I can't lose with this. And people going, this deck is garbage. I cannot win a game. Everyone plays differently. That's why there's so many decks provided here. But I can tell you, literally, at least a dozen people comment every season that they hit Infinite. Honestly, it's probably more like a dozen a week because every video gets 2 or 3. I think that's a pretty good run. But more than that, if you're concerned about your higher rank, if you're hitting Infinite easily, I think what we provide value, and my argument here that we provide value is 3/4 of the top of Infinite Ladder watches these videos. They comment. That's how I get these decks. I love Miley. Miley's great. Where the other top 5 decks are going to be Ava and Aoi. Aoi doesn't randomly send me decks. I don't talk to Aoi all that often, but Ava will just DM me a deck and be like, here's a great deck, play it, feature it. Like the top of the ladder watches these videos. They find value in this. This is something that's meant for the community, for players of all skill levels. And if the content's not for you, hey, no harm, no foul. But that's what we're trying to offer to people. Again, let me know what you think about that in the comments. You're welcome to disagree. I'm not really like concerned about it. I genuinely believe that the proof has been established that we provide value to the community. All right, Jim Shrapnick asked my advice on the new Snap Leagues, and my advice is they're still in beta. I think they're going to change the boosters and the way they're spending gold in it, unless you're in England. If you're in England, I don't know. I'd need to be in it and see how people are behaving in it to really give good advice. But I don't think that when they roll out to everyone, this is a beta test for a reason. I don't think when they roll out to everyone, this is going to be the way it is, because this is taking some heat. Now, they say they're going to put people in leagues based on generally how often they play. And if they can actually accomplish that, if I can do a league fundamentally just by playing normal, good Marvel Snap, I would be very happy. If, however, they mess up in some way, the easiest way to win in a league is fundamentally to stay pre-infinite and just do really well pre-infinite, and occasionally tank some ranks when you're not in a league. You can stay pre-infinite, feed off on bots, and get a bunch of snap points. I don't suggest you do that. I honestly don't think the prizes are really worth it. I think you should play normal Marvel Snap, and sometimes you'll get prizes. And if it gets down to the last few hours and you have some free time and you're close to the top and you want to grind for it, go for it. I think that's both a healthy and fun way to do it, and that's ultimately what I plan to do. Salty Meat Sweats wants to know if Blink has a bit too much power. Yep, and I think a bit is probably 2. I think Blink should probably be a 5/5 or a 5/4, and that would balance the card perfectly fine. Fan Thing asks for tips on writing, managing free time versus number of ideas, and outline to draft. So, okay, this is important for me because I write nonfiction, not fiction. If you want fiction advice, you're going to have to go somewhere else. That's not really what I do. I've written 3 or 4 short stories in my life. It's not really where my interests lie. I love nonfiction. I love language. I love the interplay of words and ideas in order to convince people, in order to create impressions, stuff like that. That's where my interests lie. So my tip on writing is ultimately, my first tip is the blank page is your enemy. Always, always, always. I am a big fan of, if you can't figure out what to write, you just need to write anything. You can write blargity blarg and then just get into like, I am tired, I don't know what to write. And then you can start being like, maybe I'll write about this, maybe I'll write about that. And then you just keep going once you find something you like, and then you can always go back and delete later. I think that's a really, really important strategy, because staring at that blank page is intimidating. It's overwhelming. Anytime you don't get an article from me, I write on Snapzone in a timely manner, it means that that blank page was beating me up. Next up, managing free time versus number of ideas. Straight up, you're only allowed 2 ideas at a time. Creativity is a really complicated thing, right? But attention is more complicated. Attention is a limited resource. If you're trying to develop 5 or 6 ideas at once, you end up developing none. You're allowed 2. You cannot start another unless you abandon one of those 2. 2 and only 2. 2 to completion, then you can try another. An outline to draft is fundamentally about structure. Build structures in, know ways you like to start paragraph, different ways you like to get into ideas. So then if you can say, okay, so I know that I would like an anecdote here, right? Which anecdote fits the style of tone I'm setting? I've got like 15 stories for every situation, right? I'm a teacher. So like, which anecdote fits the way I want to get into this? Do I not want an anecdote? Do I want to ask a question? How does a question change the tone of this? Do I want this to be that type of informational text? Asking those questions to yourself in your outlining process get you to the draft, because then you're not just outlining what you're writing. Outlining what you're writing is easy. That's step 1. Outlining how you're saying it and what the effect you want to be of what you're saying is what really gets you from outline to draft. Hopefully that was interesting for more than just Fan Thing, but hopefully it was also interesting to Fan Thing. I have a lot more thoughts on this, but I feel like I've gotten kind of long on it. So let's do another deck. Owie! This is the deck that was number 2, ended up as of recording is chilling at number 3. This is Owie's deck. This is obviously not nearly as cheap. It's got Blink, Red Guardian, Nocturne, Red Hulk, White Widow, Jeff, and Nebula, which is woof. However, most of these are not needed. This is a really cool deck. This is just sort of a stuff deck. It's I know it says Leech is a 5/3. He's a 4/2, I promise. The stats don't take a sorry, the numbers take a little while to update on Marvel Snap Zone. I don't know why. But this deck is both really cool and really powerful. I like it a lot that it runs Daredevil as a way to decide which thing you want to do. I love the idea of like, excuse me, of like, do I want to leech here? Do I want to blink or do I want to claw? Are they going to try and Professor X me? Let's figure it out. Oh my god, are they going to drop that? I can Red Guardian. That kind of thing is really, really powerful. Do they have a Nihilus? If they don't have a Nihilus, suddenly I can drop a White Widow and a Red Guardian and really mess them up in these lanes, right? Daredevil as not a combo piece, but an information piece is really, really underrated. Um, I love that. And I think that obviously running Jubilee and Leech into Blink is going to be a very, 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 very clear and obvious combination of cards that is very often going to be played. You can find Owie at youtube.com/at Owie Marvel Snap. He's also Owie _Marvel Snap on Twitter. I don't remember his Twitch off the top of my head. Sorry, Owie. But Owie is a French player and a really nice person who chills at the top of the Infinite Leaderboard within the top 20 basically every season. So Nebula and Jeff, if you don't have one, you replace one with Nightcrawler. If you don't have both, you replace it with Nightcrawler and Medusa. White Widow, Cable, Armor, Quake, Scarlet Witch, pick your poison. If you don't have Nocturne or White Widow, one of those would be Scarlet Witch for sure for me. Red Guardian would be Rogue or Gladiator. Nocturne would be Gladiator or Spider-Man or Polaris. You do need Blink, and Red Hulk can be Magneto. So what we just said was, this is a really expensive deck, right? But the only card you actually need that's high series on this expensive deck is Blink for this deck. Otherwise, what these high series cards are doing is they're trying to be best in slot. They're trying to be really efficient stats that also offer you something else. White Widow is a really efficient stat. If she goes off a 4/6 that can control where your opponent plays, right? White Widow and Nebula being a little combo. Nebula says you have to fill this lane. White Widow says you have to fill this other lane. Can you fill both? Maybe. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, right? But she's also basically a 2/6 if she works. Jeff is power that can move, power that's hard to account for. So is Nocturne. Nocturne is also location control. Red Guardian is strength removal and ability removal. Leech is ability removal, right? Like these are all like just efficient tech cards. All these cards, the high series cards, are just meant to be efficient tech cards, and you can do that without spending 6,000 tokens. So if you don't have any of these cards, this is still completely playable. No, please note replacements mean the deck is worse without them, not the deck is unplayable without them. Playable replacements mean the deck will still be good, it will just be probably a tier lower. Alright, Owie peaked at 2, sitting at 3. Whoa, that's still the other one. Let's instead do this verbally. So turn 1, you'd really like to Nebula. Turn 2, you would generally prefer to play Daredevil. Then you would play White Widow. Then you would play Jeff. If you are playing Daredevil, you can feel free to Daredevil wherever you want. I like to Daredevil blind, but you have ways to get into that, so you don't have to. White Widow goes in a different lane than Nebula very specifically, and Jeff can go wherever because he's Jeff. Turn 3, unless there's a very specific target, drop Nocturne. You can also still feel free to play a turn 2. Remember to not put Nocturne in the location you might want to change. And the way you choose your Nocturne location is often the location that is most neutral is where she just gets played to begin with. Turn 4, you have to make a choice. If your deck is full of big, powerful things and your opponent's not playing a lot of on reveals, you go Jubilee. If your opponent is clearly playing on reveal stuff, snap and play Leech. After that, generally speaking, you want to Blink. Blink will get Klaw, Doom, or Red Hulk. You're perfectly fine with any of those. Hey, do yourself a favor and play either Jubilee or Leech in the mid or left so that when you blink, you're not getting Klaw in the right lane where he does nothing. And then last turn, you are playing, if you don't have Blink, obviously playing Claw is totally fine. You can also play Jubilee that turn. And then last turn is either Doctor Doom or Red Hulk. You can sometimes play some other stuff there, but I think Doom and Red Hulk is the majority of the time to play. Please excuse that I had to verbally do that turn by turn. It's been quite the day. If anyone wants to know, I'll maybe throw at the end of the video like 3 minutes of what the hell is going on with my life, just so you know why that happened. Cool. All right, we have weekend mission decks in which we have 2 more Blink decks with only Blink. Blink is just a PSA expected in weekend missions only for the first 2 weeks. You'll get the full 600 golds in the first 2 weeks. So if you want that gold, get Blink right away. We're going to do 2 more Nocturne decks, and then 3 decks with both. We just did one with both. That was that last deck. We've got 1 deck that we're not doing a full guide for. That's a deck with both. That's an Ika deck. And then we're going to do an Ava Zord deck that's rank either number 4 or number 5, depending on what the hell is happening right now while I'm recording. And that will be the last deck of today's video. All right, so first, let's review Blink. Should you get Blink? Yeah, if you want to get the gold, you have to get her now. I think she's one of the best cards in the game. I don't know how else to mince words about that. She's definitely aggressively statted. She's going to be 5/6 soon. Even when she's 5/6, she's great. She is in a package with at least Jubilee and probably Jubilee and Leech. She goes in an absolute ton of decks. If you can afford to play another 5 and then 2 6s, or 2 5s and 1 6, then she should be in the deck with Jubilee. That's it. She's great. Genuinely phenomenal card. Get her if you can afford her. Cool. All right. Our Blink deck number 1 is Buddy's Blanos. This is Buddy's weird take on Thanos. It's a lockdown shell. It's running the little Jubilee package, but it's also got a really cool Professor X thing it's doing. Is this the best Thanos? I think the one I did the short on yesterday, the googly one, is probably better than this, but this one's really cool. I'm really big on Morph right now. I think the meta is really kind to Morph. Sandman should be messing up a lot of opponent stuff. If you can especially blink into Sandman, your opponent should not be ready. Doom and Thanos is a really cool thing, and you don't need an extra big thing because, well, you have Thanos as your big thing if you really need it. Super cool deck. This is our friend Buddy Lean's Blink Thanos list. Our next Thanos list is the Pirate King himself. He will again be featuring a ton of these decks in tonight's video. So the Pirate King is Blink twice. This is the deck that the Pirate King has hit Infinite with. So this is basically a nice Shuri Blob deck. So your goal is to go Hope, Shuri, Blob, Taskmaster. You can also go Shuri into Blink for a nice 14 power. Get rid of Shuri, which is going to get you either Taskmaster, which will give you 28 power in that lane, Vision, Blob, Red Hulk, or Magneto. You can make a ton of this cheaper with Ravonna. Shuri can be cheaper. Taskmaster can be cheaper, and Blob can be cheaper, which is incredible. Which means you can go Ravonna, Shuri, Blob, Taskmaster, and there's just an absolute ton of plays. You have armor as all the protection you need. This is a thing of beauty, extremely powerful. Props to the Pirate King for this awesome deck. Oh, yeah, so like in turn 4, if you don't see Shuri, that's, by the way, or Hope, that's when Psylocke might get played, just for the record. Cool. This deck is great. Play it if you have access. And also, sorry, other important thing, this deck is, I mean, like, not cheap, but like relatively affordable. All right, next up we have Woody's Infinite Surfer. Woody is like a super surfer player. Woody was number 3 or 4 last season. It runs together. I actually need to figure that out for a video I'm doing Sunday, but we'll talk about that later. Woody hit Infinite with Surfer. This is a Mockingbird Surfer. Mockingbird has replaced Sarah in this list for Woody. Mockingbird's not going to be cheap, particularly without Brood or some luck, but like, hey, Nocturne might make your luck for you, and other things just happen. If your goal is to sort of go Forge, Brood, Absorb Man in this, then you've got a 1-cost Mockingbird to play with whatever you end up playing on 3 and Nova, and then you can go Surfer and Killmonger to end the game. Shaw is huge here if that's the extra card. Hope can give you extra energy to do all sorts of things, and Nocturne says bad locations are not a problem. Is this deck meta? Nah, I don't think so, especially with Leech. But it is cool, and it is a really cool way to play Nocturne. All right, speaking of Nocturne, should you get the card? Did I just... Oh, I guess Nocturne should have been right before that. Oh well, we'll live again. Nocturne is a very cool and very powerful card. But she's not a requirement. She's very fun. If you want a fun card, get her. She's the kind of card that goes in 5,000 decks, but is replaceable in fundamentally all of them. What can you replace her with? Spider-Man, Red Guardian, Cosmo, Elsa, Luke Cage, etc. Cool. She is a Very good three. She's on the tier of the other very good threes. If you'd like an extra one of those, if you like her ability, if you want to play her, then feel free. She is, again, really fun and really good, but caveat, in no way a requirement. At least as of right now. I reserve the right to change my mind by Monday, as always. All right. Second Nocturne list is a Marvel Snap Variant, who is Snap Variants on Twitter. I love Snap Variants. Really cool person. One of my genuine favorite people in the community. Hit Infinite with this very cool Darkhawk Cannonball list. And again, please note, Darkhawk is a 5-3, not a 5-4 now. But this list basically is just using Nocturne as a good card. It is a list that is built around winning a lane with Professor X and Cannonball. Omega Red helps with that. Or so does White Widow. Or just winning a lane with the Rock Slide Darkhawk package, saying you can't draw good things, I win that way. And just Nocturne's a good card, right? Like Nocturne is basically like backup Jeff, like Nightcrawler in these decks is often backup Jeff. That's all it is. It's a really cool card again for this. And I don't know, Nocturne, like there's a reasonable number of cheap locations that make Darkhawk or Professor X better, and getting any of those with Nocturne is pretty damn good for you. All right, last one. This is our deck with both that we are not doing the full guide for. This is our friend Ika's list. You'll see all the morph because immediately prior to Leech, Hela was the most prominent deck. There's still a lot of Hela, so morph stays for now. It could be Shang-Chi, obviously. So this is Ika's Blink Down. This is, again, a lockdown list that is doing the Blink thing. Look, the Blink thing instead of the Darkhawk thing. Cool. It's still got the lockdown shell of Nebula, White Widow, Ravonna, Morph, Professor X, Cannonball, like all those things go together. Jeff, and then it's also just got Jubilee and Blink because why the hell would it not? It's also nice to note that Nocturne is a 3, and Jubilee is the only 4. So if you blink it, you're likely to still get. You could get Jubilee, but you might also get one of the 5s or 6s, which is pretty damn good. This deck is real cool, and you should check it out if you have access to these cards. But Ava won like 80% of his games up to a top 5 rank with this deck. And this deck is completely wild. It runs both Blink and Nocturne. I don't think it needs Blink, but Blink is really great here. This is so scam. So very scam. I sent this to our friend Mod Supreme, and Models won like 75% of his games with this too. So this deck is like legitimately sick. It's super good and super hard to play around because, well, it can win by scamming you in at least 2 different ways and can also just win because it's good. All right, you can find Ava at twitch.tv/Avazor. Legion is needed for this list. Legion is like half the deck. Blink can actually kind of be War Machine here. I know that seems crazy, but like you get a whole different extra scam by running War Machine instead of Blink. Nightcrawler or Nebula. Nightcrawler or Nebula. Nebula or Jeff can be Nightcrawler or Lizard. Ooh. Nebula or Jeff can be Nightcrawler or Lizard. Lizard is pretty good in a deck that might scam you out. Letting your opponent know where to play is good for you. Nocturne can be Spidey or Polaris. You want that extra bit of control. And Cannonball can be Shang-Chi or Juggernaut. I think Cannonball is really important. That's the biggest change. So turn 1, Nebula over Sunspot. Turn 2, Nebula over Jeff over Sunspot. Use Psylocke if Omega Red. Cool. Psylocke is here basically to get Omega Red out early so you can go to Omega Red into Jubilee. Turn 3, use Storm if Quake. If not, you're playing Nocturne. Got it? Use Storm if you're planning on Quaking. If you have the play where you get the free Storm lane and the opponent can't stop you by playing Quake in a different location, and then you just sort of like have moved and won a free Limbo. If you don't have that, you play Nocturne, you're totally happy. If not that, then turn 2 play, although Nebula now goes down the list. Turn 4, Storm is perfectly fine, especially with Nebula or Sunspot. Or if you played the Storm, you could drop 2 2s and the Quake Storm combos here. Or you can just Jubilee. Jubilee is fine. And again, remember you can Omega Red on 3 or 4 as necessary. Turn 5, if you stormed, you can Legion that Storm lane and end the game. It's a nice play. People forget you can do it. You can also Blink or Jubilee. If you Blink Jubilee, do so in the Storm lane. You're reasonably likely to hit that Legion and end the game. Blah, blah. Yeah, that's it. If not, you can play for power. Sorry, other thing you can do. I meant to write this, and again, day from hell. All right. If you storm on 3 and Jubilee that lane on 4 and don't hit Legion, right? You can still Legion on 5 and Blink on 5 in a different location, and that's got a reasonably good shot at hitting that Legion and ending the game. Cool. It could also hit Cannonball, which will punch whatever they have in that lane away and win you that lane. Both of those are pretty freaking good. You can always just play for power, and then turn 6 is just Cannonball or Blink, and enjoy your victory. This deck is so much fun. This is completely wild how much fun and insanely good this is. If you have access to it, you should play it. This is like 4 or 5 of my favorite cards in Marvel Snap all together in an absolutely wildly great combo. Also, look at the beauty of these variants. Cool. This is Ava's Scammin' Time. All right, certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. If you'd like to be one of the people that get on-air thanks, check out patreon.com/snapjudgments. Thank you to Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, David G. Winfield, Direwolf, LAB, Fothler Newman, Good Dog Gamer, This Is the Way, Inc., Jane Everett, J.D. McDonaldino, Heretics Lee, Boy Ray, Aerofros, The Goat Seeker, Dan Manfalcon, Doku, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, X-Force V and Skippy G, Snap Judgment's Season 1 League Champion Tommy Nyquist, The King of Bros, Black Dahlia, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Campbell, Ryan Wood, Kevsi Hora, Lunacris, Louis Antonez, Mod Supreme Models, Lema Setala, Brian Kaufman, Kristen H. Martin, Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrumix, Woo, Matt H., DJ Mikey Hijinks, No Flex, Ocularis, Greg Sterry, Pretty Damn Chill, Seamus, Spike Jones, Jonesy, Two Ties, whose deck we featured yesterday and a bunch of people hit Infinite with, The Pirate King Tucker, check him out on Twitch tonight, The Homie Men, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for. I'm going to go on a life rant in like the next 30 seconds. All right. Hit that sub, hit that like, hit that comment. Peace. Anyone who's still watching. So, all right. My kid has hit a rough patch for whatever reason. He's been really rough. This rough patch happens to coincide with my AP exam. I teach AP language. That test is next Tuesday, so I've got 10 million essays that I'm spending any time I'm not doing Marvel Snap content trying to read. Also a union VP, and we just had a union thing in the city that I was at last weekend, so I'm not rested from that. And in addition to that union thing, like there's just been like 1,000 little meetings for union stuff over the course of the week. In addition to my 5 classes and all the essays. Today I also helped out with job interviews in the afternoon. I had a department meeting after that, and then I had to go meet a state assemblyman for another union like powwow thing. Then I came home just in time to take my son to track. Ate quickly, got him to bed, recorded the podcast, then made this video. So it's been a day. Please forgive the errors. Much love to all of you. Thank you so much for the support. And again, someone's gonna be like, why don't you skip the video? I promise this video ain't much stressing me out. It's all that other stuff. Talking to you is one of the highlights of my day. Peace again.